Hey everyone, this is Jeff Lund, the host of the Mediocre Alaskan podcast. Make sure you rate and review so more people can stumble upon what you have. In addition to the podcast, my wife and I have been adding a bunch more about living in Southeast Alaska on our website, themediocrealaskan.com. There you can read about hunting, fishing, foraging, gardening, our adventures building our home, and order my book, A Miserable Paradise. Thanks again and enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the podcast. I have the Juneau-Douglas High School boys basketball coach, Rob Casperson, on. Thanks for taking some time out of your Monday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to start with something that's probably fresh in your brain right now, buzzer beaters. You played basketball at JD, and now you're coaching, and this recent weekend you won the region tournament on a buzzer beater. So as a coach, I'm sure you've been on both sides of that or on a critical play very late in the game. How do you approach what you say at the end? I know there's maybe a temptation to just go on a crazy tirade because you're upset, or based on the kids, does it change? Or what's the locker room like after a close loss or a win?
Well, I would say there's certainly not the time or the place to go at them in a close loss like that. You know, there's especially if it ends up being a season-ending type situation. Yeah, we've lost some heartbreakers over the years for sure, and if you do it long enough, I guess you have the opportunity to be on the other side of that, and you come out with a few wins in those situations. And I had some of my players ask me just this weekend, if that had ever happened before, if I had ever been involved with winning a region championship or something like that on a buzzer beater. And I couldn't think of any, but as we spent some time discussing it, some of the assistant coaches remembered a few years back when we were in Ketchikan for a region tournament and playing Thunder Mountain, and ended up with Eric Kelly grabbing a rebound and getting fouled on a putback and making the basket and making the free throw and winning at the end of the game there. So, the excitement is pretty real in those moments. I don't know what it's also like when you're coaching in that opportunity, I'm really focused on the task at hand, right? What do we need? Who do we need out there? How are we going to have a chance? We were down 7 with 60 seconds left in the game and ended up winning by 2. It's.
I remember that Eric Kelly one, and the year that you guys won state, that was maybe it was the year after that. I'm not really sure when that was. Maybe before that.
I think
the year before.
I think it was the year after. Maybe it was right around that time, though.
Yeah.
It might have been 2017 or something. With Eric Kelly and stuff, I just don't recall.
Yeah.
A lot of those years just blur together for me at this point.
In 2016 is when you guys won it, and you beat Ketchikan on a buzzer beater in the semifinal. But did you also beat Bartlett on a buzzer beater before that?
It was close. Colby Hoover hit a pull-up jumper from the left wing with about, I think it was 1.2 seconds left on the clock. And that was our only, our first and only lead of the game was with 1.2 seconds. And Bartlett called timeout and drew up a play for the best shot you can get with 1.2 seconds, and it didn't come close. So we escaped the first round. And I'll tell you, and I said it then, and I'll say it now, Bartlett was the best number 8 seed in that tournament I had ever seen. I mean, my goodness. They were talented. So
yeah, I remember we were playing a team. This is when I was coaching in California. I was assistant coach. We were playing a team with a kid who went and played at UC Santa Barbara and played for the Hawks for a little bit, the Atlanta Hawks. And we were out of timeouts. We happened to get a steal and an and one off a fast break with about maybe 6 seconds left, and that puts us up 1. The kid goes to the free throw line to make it 2, and we're just we beat this team. We beat this team, unbelievable. We upset this kid who's going D1, and the kid misses the free throw. The D1 kid gets the rebound and makes it the whole length of the floor in about 3-4 dribbles and just lays it in like nothing. Like it was all on purpose that that he was just gonna make us think. But I don't remember anything that we said in the locker room afterwards. I don't remember what the head coach said.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a blur. Is less sometimes more in some of those moments where there's nothing really that you can say?
Well, you try to provide some comfort in any way that you can, and usually, the words have no meaning a lot of times in those situations. It's almost impossible to find the right words that are going to bring comfort to the kids who have just poured their heart and soul into a game and had it, end so abruptly and seemingly unexpectedly, right? And so, I've been in those locker rooms. They're not fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tears, the kids and the adults. Usually there's a lot of tears and stuff because it's a shared experience and it's a very visceral, powerful thing that you've gone through, and you kind of realize that your season is now over in those moments. And I can tell you the other side of it, after just having gone through it, can be pretty exciting, right? And there's a lot of joy and happiness. And you try to keep in mind that there's another team that isn't feeling quite the same way, and so, the guys ended up dousing me with water when I walked in the locker room.
Understandable.
Yeah, and so they were super excited. I don't know. I was a little disappointed. I didn't have a change of clothes, so I was pretty cold and wet. But ended up finding a mop, later and mopping up the water. It's just other duties as assigned, I guess. But I'll take it in that situation.
Orion's mom, Sarah, is a friend of mine from high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and his dad, Travis, and I played together in high school.
It's funny how there's so many of these connections, and it's
awesome.
When people who are in the crowd watching these things, they remember their last game. My last game I ever played was here in Ketchikan at Regions. We lost to Huna. You just remember those things, and it's funny. I was thinking back to the success that Sarah had when she was in high school, and the boys team I was on never really put it together. My senior year, we were really good, and we lost on a shot with less than 5 seconds left, and one of our starters had broken his leg during pregame warm-up, so it was a weird game. But So, but you just remember those things. They all kind of come back, and I think that's what makes the tournament so special is you have so many people who've been here for so long and can remember everything, and it all just comes back. And the pride of the town, of the school, really makes it a pretty cool environment to be a part of.
Oh, it was amazing, that's for sure, and it was great to get back to a sense of normalcy with the tournament this year and the fan base and everything. It was loud. And it was exciting, very electric atmosphere. And there was some stuff I saw online or whatever, social media stuff. Someone had posted something about how they had been watching those games since the 70s, and just the back and forth battles and the nature of the competition between the two teams. That it's not uncommon for Juneau and Ketchikan to have close games that come down to, the final shot or two. And it was just the pendulum swing in that final minute of the game was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And the shock and awe on both sides, to be completely honest. Our fans were shocked that it happened, and I'm sure the same as Ketchikan fans were shocked at what had just happened. So, but that is one of the things about sports too, and why people connect with it.
Yeah. What, because you've been around 4A basketball in Southeast quite a bit, what have been some of the changes that you've seen in, I don't want to say the quality of it, but maybe that is the right word, or how does 4A basketball in Southeast compare from when you played to now as a coach?
Well, there's definitely been a lot of changes over the years. When I played back in the mid-90s, we had 3 4A teams, and it was Juneau, Ketchikan, and Sitka. And then it stayed that way for a while, even as enrollments changed. And Juneau was certainly the largest of the 3, and Ketchikan kind of maintained where they were, and Sitka's enrollment seemed to drop over a span of a few years. And They ended up dropping down to 3A, and that made some changes. And then after a while, Thunder Mountain came in, and that changed enrollments here and changed the conference again, back to 3 teams. And it's I don't know, like, it's interesting. Like, one thing I've noticed over the years is, especially since I graduated high school, is like a 6 foot tall, 140 pound, wiry point guard. I've noticed strength has become much more of a factor, like a trickle down effect from the NBA into college and then college into high school. Like, we're seeing kids who are stronger, younger, and we certainly put a premium on it in our program. And whether you can tell or not, like, we lift during the season. Even we're lifting 3 days a week. Just more of a maintenance thing and a confidence thing, and I think it helps us avoid some injuries along the way. Knock on wood, and that type of stuff. But that's, the landscape has changed again. With Region 5 and Sitka and Edgecombe joining some teams up north for a bigger conference, and that definitely changed. Like, this year was supposed to be a Region 5 tournament was supposed to be held in Sitka. It was their year, but because they were in that new conference, they were doing something different. So, yeah, I guess just as you stick with it long enough, you're going to see a lot of different changes. And one of the beauties of our Region 5 tournament is how it brings the region together. All the different communities get to come together, and currently that's the 2As and the 4As with how it was this year. But it was awesome to see people from all the different communities that maybe we hadn't seen this year. We don't play them or anything, but then you get back together and you see coaches, and, now people my age are parents of players and stuff. And that's pretty awesome to see too. You're like, oh man, I remember playing against your dad,
Yeah.
So that stuff is fun.
Yeah, you were in Juneau at a really interesting time. There's kind of 3 lines of demarcation when it comes to hoops in Alaska. You've got, well, actually modern basketball, I guess. You got Trajan, and then Trajan to Carlos Boozer, and then Carlos Boozer to Mario Chalmers. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised that there hasn't been more? Because it seemed like after Trajan that that was like the hero, and Alaskans can do this. And then Carlos Boozer's right there. And were you a sophomore when Trajan was a senior and that team went to state and lost in the state finals?
Yeah, where I'm pretty sure they were nationally ranked somewhere pretty decent. And I feel like, if memory serves, it's getting fuzzy as the years go on, but I'm pretty sure they beat us by like 36 and Trajan had 33 or something. Something like that, right? Like,
what are you going to do?
The guy was a machine, right? So about the only, we competed, and I was on that team, but that wasn't, I didn't play in that game or anything, but because we were pretty talented. The thing that I remember though, that was maybe a win for us, was they had to stop pressing us.
Oh,
because we weren't turning it over like they had hoped, and so they had to pull off their press, and they still pulled away, but yeah.
Hey, that's a little victory.
That right? Yeah, I guess moral victories. I don't know if any of us are in this for a whole lot of those though.
No. And then, what year were you a senior when Boozer was a freshman in?
Correct.
Yeah. And then you and I had talked previously, and a memory that you have from that, because Carlos's freshman year, you guys lost in the semifinals to Bartlett. Is that right?
Actually, it was a first round.
First round.
Okay. Yeah, and that was when the formatting, like the seeding for state, was dictated on like what position you had coming out of your region. And so number 1 from Southeast would play number 2 from Anchorage. In our senior year, gosh, I think we were 25-2, and our only loss before state was to East at East by 7. And Bartlett had been playing really well. They had the transfers from Australia there. Cameron Rigby ended up going and playing D1 at Bradley. Anyway, that game, So we weren't expecting to play, like they were supposed to win their conference, right? They were supposed to win the Cook Inlet, and we were preparing ourselves to play East again. We were really looking forward to that. And East was good, but we felt we had an opportunity to kind of get some payback from when we lost to them the first time. And yeah, it was just a shocker that they ended up losing. So we had to switch gears real quick and didn't know much about Bartlett going into play them. And we lost I think we lost to them by 4 in the first round. And our primary scorer was Josh Lockhart then, and he had a nice little move. I think that tied the game, and he got fouled on it, and he went to the free throw line, and I think he missed the free throw, but Boozer got the rebound. And this was freshman year Boozer, so maybe not the Boozer that everyone thinks of as 6'9", 240 pounds or whatever by his senior year. He was 6'5", 180 maybe as a freshman, still really good, but he wasn't nearly as strong, and he got that rebound and ended up bringing it down. And I think they took it from him. And then they and that was like in the last minute of the game, and the game just finished with free throws at that point. So
that's rough.
Yep. And then we went on, and I forget who we played the next night, but we won that game. And then I think we ended up meeting up with Ketchikan for like the 75th time that year at an 8 a.m. consolation game for 4th or 6th. And I remember that playing against Dave Mitchell and Luke LeBeau, Isaac Isaiah, those guys.
Yeah.
In that 8 a.m. game or whatever. Pretty sure we were there before they had opened the gym. You're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that might have been like the 6th time we had played them that year. And honestly, we had a pretty nice little record in that senior year, but I did look back at something. I found a box of old stuff in the office, and I was looking through it. And our closest games that year typically were with Ketchikan. Ketchikan was really talented and did really well, and they played us tough. So,
yeah. So then we had Mario Chalmers, but then since then we really haven't had. I mean, there have been a couple D1 players here and there, but are you surprised that like we haven't had another NBA player in kind of a few generations almost of basketball players? If a generation is like 4 years rather than 18.
The high school generation, yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of talented players that have come out of Alaska and gone in Division I and stuff. I think what we have seen is some of the more talented players have left Alaska early on.
Right.
Whether it be after their freshman year or just before their junior year or something. I've seen way more of that recently than I ever recall hearing about growing up or coaching previously. The Nick's kid, I don't know, Dashin or something. I'm not sure how to say that, but he's playing great in the G League, and he's got that contract with the Rockets, and he's done a really good job. But I think he left after 8th grade. He didn't even play any high school here. He still, gets a lot of love from Alaska, and that's great, and he considers it home. So I appreciate that. But yeah, we're not, I guess with what you're saying is, I don't know. The 4-year Alaska kid that has ascended, I'm not sure who that would be.
Yeah.
Plus just what are the odds?
Yeah, exactly.
Boozer and I were talking about that just the other day about how fortunate he was. He's coming out of a town of 30,000, and he got to go to Duke, won a national championship. He had a gold medal, he had a bronze medal in the Olympics. He's a double guy for his career, 15-year NBA career or whatever. And he's got a thing coming up, I guess, where he's going to be honored by the Utah Jazz and whatever they do with their kind of like a ring of honor type thing. And I don't know, but I mean, there's just boy, he's had a pretty awesome experience, and I feel pretty fortunate that he still considers Juneau home, and he loves to come back and help out, and we'll get involved again with another basketball camp this summer. He wants to do his camp again. He feels like things are okay to bring back his camp now with COVID kind of doing whatever it's doing. But boy, oh boy, you talk about the next generation. His kids are phenomenal. Like we need his kids to move back. I'm telling you, he has twins. He has 3 boys in high school. The oldest son plays baseball, and he's a good baseball player. But his twins are freshmen, and they're young for the grade. Like they played most of the season as 14-year-olds, and they're ranked. One of them's number 1 in the nation, and the other one's like number 4.
Oh wow!
Yeah, where are they at now? I think they're down in Miami.
Okay.
Playing for a private high school down there. Then they actually just won their first state championship ever in the school's history, and wow. They started 3 freshmen.
That's crazy.
Carlos's kids, and then one of their really good friends who's a knockdown shooter. So, but yeah, I mean, one's 6'7", one's 6'4", I think, and a guard.
Yes.
Carlos and I talk about that kind of stuff, and his kids and stuff. I'm like, Los, you realize that they're both so much better than you at that age. It's true awesome. Though, and he knows it. He sees it. Like it's obvious. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's funny. My brother was the short point guard. I remember the last time that you and I talked, you said that your role was to get it across half court and get it to someone else.
Give it to someone else. Yeah,
that was for so many people. That's what it was. My brother was 6'1", maybe 6'2", and he walked on at George Washington University. But just those days of the kind of the scrappy point guard at the high level, that's just not. You don't see that nearly as much. The amount of athletes, like you said, that are stronger, that are more athletic, that are bigger. You don't have to take a risk if you're a Division I college on a smaller type guard, and it's. But yeah, games change a little bit. But then the grit and the tenacity and those sort of things. If you get a player who's in that bigger frame, that's more athletic, and you get them with that mentality of that gritty point guard or that gritty player, then you got really something good to work with.
Yeah, I agree. So having those kids who are hungry and want to keep working for it makes a big difference.
How much do you have control over that as a coach? Is the hunger that's something that you just feed, or does a kid have it or not? How do you deal with that hunger thing?
Well, you definitely want to try to foster it in your players, but it does come down to how they approach the game and what they want to try to get out of it. I'm feel pretty fortunate. I got a few different players that are hungry and that really love basketball, and it's their number 1, and that's what they want to do, and that's what they choose to do. So, I think in the region too, we're going to be treated to some really good basketball over the years. 4 of the 6 players on the all-conference team are sophomores. So there's some talent now, and there's going to be some talent for years to come, I think, and it should be pretty exciting for the fans of Southeast. The kids who are here and doing it right now are the kids who are working really hard. I know of a couple of them that will get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and go run, and then go lift, and then go get in some shots later in the evening when their friends are finally out of bed.
Yeah. Has your style of coaching changed at all? Basketball is kind of modernized, tons of threes, things like that. But you were, I'm sure you were influenced a lot by Coach Houston. So sure. Have you bridged kind of an old school with the new school, or where are you at as far as evolving as a coach to meet the current game?
Well, I mean, we certainly are in a different situation in regards to like tryouts and stuff like that, and how many kids are showing up or whatever happens. I remember there were 60 people trying out for 25 to 30 spots when I was in high school. Right. So in that situation, you really get to be super selective, and you can pick the kids that fit a system more so. And, our numbers have dropped over the years for participation. They're starting to climb back up. I think we had 42 or 43 in our program this year at all 3 levels, which is great. And that's as big as it's been in a while. But what I've tried to do over the years is pick a system that fits the kids. They're for a few years, and actually with that group that won state, we ran the triangle offense from the Chicago Bulls because of the personnel we had. We had size and length, and some guys that could move and cut off each other, and were really good passers. I had some big guys that could pass really well, and so we did that, and we've gone to more of a dribble drive kind of approach now, and creating opportunities out in space, 4 out, 1 in offense. And, that's more suited to the talents we have currently. In regards to the whole shooting 3 thing, like we shoot them, but, we gotta improve our ability to make them. We'll shoot them though. We're not afraid of doing that. And I guess we hit just enough of them to keep people honest, which I appreciate. But as a coach, I'd like to see those percentages go way up over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Do you think that social media has kind of fueled some of that? Because you're getting these clips of, everyone chucking threes and everybody's a Steph Curry. Do you think that's something that kids kind of watch and emulate? Or is that just old guy making a problem out of social media?
No, I mean, let's be fair. Let's be honest. We did the same thing. I don't know how many times I sat there out my driveway and would, say Michael Jordan as I tried to make a move, and with my 3-inch vertical,
jumping, right? Yeah.
Yeah, with my 3-inch vertical or something like that we did that too. It just wasn't as accessible, and it certainly wasn't the type of thing that like people weren't going to be able to find me out there trying to like on social media to like look at my videos of that stuff. Now these guys, some of these top high school prospects have 150, 250, 300,000 followers or more on social media stuff. So it's way more accessible to these guys. I saw something the other day that I'm pretty sure was like some sort of 8th grade all-star game, and kids, like, it was the weirdest thing. I couldn't tell if it was edited. I don't think it was. I think it was live all-star kind of gameplay, and the kids were just chucking shots from half court and draining them. But they were draining them back and forth, like one right after the other. This, team A hits one, and then team B hits one, and then team A hits another one. I was just like, what am I watching here? So it was pretty impressive, but it certainly wasn't, like, as a coach, I would not have enjoyed being involved with that type of thing. No. I don't know. I like what our guys do. They work real hard, and I like how they are willing to do the things that I ask them to do. And just, I don't know, like the straight motion offense, we ran that when I was growing up with Coach Houston, who's a great coach, Hall of Famer and everything. And he comes to our practice sometimes, and we talk about how different it looks now than with the stuff we were doing. But one of the things that was a huge help to us this year was he gave me some ideas on some drill work for some defensive stuff that really made a difference for us down the stretch, I think. So, yeah.
You had a couple players that have gone on to play college. How has the recruiting changed, or I don't know if you kind of saw the recruiting thing when you were in high school, observing some of your teammates, but how has recruiting changed?
Well, back then we'd have to bring in tapes or something, VHS tapes, and ask coach to record a game onto them for us or something. And it's just so much easier for kids to get their film out. And I mean, we use a video system online that the kids have access to the games typically within 30 minutes of them ending, from the game being over. So it's a lot more direct too. Direct to the players is what I've noticed. It seemed like coaches used to be more involved in that process in regards to, college coaches calling the high school coach and talk to him about the player and stuff. Now it seems like they're, in my experience recently, they're just more willing to deal with the kid directly. And they want your input, but it's not always necessary, I guess, which is interesting because they can see so much of them through the film and and everything else. And then if it gets down to an offer, then they want to start to talk to the people around them, and are they a good kid, and what's their work ethic, how they treat their teammates and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's changed a little bit.
What is your role in that and kind of managing that? Because the kid might have parents, or the kid himself might want to be recruited or get caught up in that stuff and kind of lose control of the goal of, being with the team and whatnot. What is your role on helping kids reach that next level, but also, hey, while you're here, you're with us?
Well, I mean, one of the things we try to focus on is the better your fundamental skills are, right? We work to develop those while you're here. That's going to help you have opportunities moving forward. And so I see my role as trying to help them become as good of a player as they possibly can be. And then to give them opportunities for their talents to shine, but in a team setting, it's a team game. We're not pushing individuals. I've never really aspired to a star system, so to speak, or pushing one or two kids or anything like that kind of ahead of anyone else. I think the players know who the best players are on the team, and, shooting. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, you hope, but like something like shooting is not an equal opportunity event. Like those, the better shooters need to get more shots, and, that's figured out in practice situations. And if you want to become one of those better shooters, you better put the extra time in. Yeah. So.
Well, I know you got planning to do, and you got scheming for a state, and you probably have to Google what a podcast is, and then and see how you can get it on your flip phone. But
I do have a flip phone, but it's one
really?
of the new ones now. I do, but it's one of the new ones, like whatever they've been showing on television, because my old phone just died recently, and I figured I would have this one for a number of years, so I better get the top of the line, I guess. And so I got that phone that looks like a little tablet when you open it.
Very nice. Oh, so it's the double screen. The screen folds a little bit?
Yes, yes, it's a foldable screen. It's one of those. So
that's big time.
Believe me, I don't know how to use any of the features on it.
That's all right.
But maybe I can find a podcast on it or two. I don't know.
Yeah, we could find a podcast on there. But, thanks, man. It's always good to talk to you. Appreciate it. Good luck up there at State.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for the time and, exposing me to whatever this podcast thing is. I'll have to start checking them out, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell you which internet it's going to be on, and then you can look it up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.
See you.